Leesburg. Our theme for this year is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And our new theme for the month of September is Reaching Higher. And that will also be the title of our talk today, given by Charlene Banks, our wonderful spiritual director. We're so glad that you joined us today. We invite you to get comfortable and relax into this moment as we open up and officially start our sacred service. Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be of service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly, and so it is. Please feel free to add to the chat or in the comment section any prayer requests or any celebrations that you would like us to include later in our service when we provide our community spiritual mind treatment, which is a form of affirmative prayer. And now join us as we move into meditation with Charlene.
Thank you, Tamara. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I am wondering if I turned on original sound, so give me a second here. I think that's good. All right, so this is the time where we just settle in, and welcome to September. We are just going to go within. A lot of times with our practice, we are a little too busy to just get a little bit of meditation in. And I know that as a spiritual community, it always feels so good to sit with each other in the silence, in meditation. So let's just take a few minutes and just go into that silence. As we simply rest, just letting go of anything, any sort of busyness that may have accompanied our morning, just taking a nice cleansing breath in and then release. In this moment, if you are willing, please close your eyes. And then just settle into your seat, allowing your feet to be firmly planted if that's the position you're sitting in. And just try to clear any tension in your body temple. We allow the sound of the singing bowl, all our attention within. As we take our breaths in and out, we just simply our awareness. And just deepening our breathing, deepening our awareness. And in this space of quiet, our attention is focused on our breath and our beingness. And just bring to your mind the faith of one who loves you unconditionally. Whether that be a grandparent or a small child or even a pet, where there's no judgment, no expectation, no transactional interaction, just love. Allow that sense of loving kindness well up inside the center of your being. Allow it to grow from your heart center out. Out and surround yourself with this sense of love, unconditional love. That this being has for you. It's so good to be in the presence of this unconditional love, that face that just lights up when it sees you. It's not about the past, it's not about future expectations. It is the present moment. Their excitement, their love for you just light up the world. So feeling into that, remembering of that being, whether it's a grandparent who passed on, a parent, a small animals, anything that looks at you with that love, just hold on to that for now. And just know that the universe itself is loving you, is loving me. The divine Mother, Father, God, who holds me in its womb, has never been separate from me, has never let you go. You are never alone. Always, always being held and being loved in the arms and in the heart of the divine. We just take a few moments to bask in this loving kindness. From this sense of wholeness and completeness, knowing we will never be alone, we will never not have this love in our lives. I'd like you to turn your attention to an individual who may be a little difficult to love in their human incarnation. And in your mind's eye, just hold them in front of you. Include them. Include this person in your love bubble. And say in your mind, may you be well. May you be loved. May you experience your heart's desire. And know that this loving kindness that you are bestowing upon this individual, it is enough to cover you and them. And we can include the entire planet in this understanding, in this loving kindness, for it is infinite. We are all connected, one to another. We are never separate. So we just allow this person to release from our inner bubble in this moment, and we return into this room where we sit, knowing that at any point we can come back to this loving kindness meditation. We can include all beings at any time. It is always available to us, for this is who we truly are. But for now, we give our thanks and our gratitude for just being alive, being with each other in community, and being right here, right now. And so it is. So if you want to just wiggle your fingers and toes and bring yourself back into the room, we welcome Leah, who will be sharing music with us.
Hello, everyone. When this song becomes familiar to you, feel free to sing with me.
Okay, you are slightly quiet. I don't know if that's true for everybody. If you can up your sound.
Is it?
Slightly quiet. Yeah, we need you a little louder.
All right, let's see what we can do.
And I'll add just slightly. There you go.
Brilliant. Just as you are without changing a thing, just as you are, I accept you. I see you, I hear you, I welcome you in, just as you are, just as you are, just as you are without changing a thing, just as you are, I accept you. I see you, I hear you, I welcome you in, just as you are, just as you are. Want to try singing it with me? Just as you are without changing a thing, just as you are, I accept you. I see you, I hear you, I welcome you in, just as you are, 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 just as you are.
That was amazing. Thank you. I needed that. Yeah, you're just so wonderful. Thank you. So welcome to September. Reaching higher is the topic. And I just want to remind you that in August, the context that we were talking about was resting, rejuvenating, a time where we paused and we gathered ourselves so that we could get ready for the next stage, whatever's next. And so in September, a lot of people do tend to use September as the start of something new, because a lot of us are in the school year type of pattern, right? Where it's not necessarily the calendar year that starts new, but typically in the fall. And so a lot of things are happening. In fact, Labor Day, which is tomorrow, marks the end of summer, boo-hoo, right? The last day to go hang out at the pool with your friends, because the day after Labor Day, traditionally, when I grew up, it was the first day of back to school. And now I know that it's a bit different with the different schedules of school, but I like the fact that school, just any sort of higher, just learning to bring yourself to the next level, whatever that is sort of a tradition that we embrace in this, in our country. So I like that, I like that September's topic is reaching higher, because even though we're spiritual beings and everything is available right now, right? Some might argue that, well, there is no such thing as higher. There's no such thing as higher because, and I'm going to use air quotes, because we're all one and everything is one. And that's true, but that doesn't mean that you can never improve upon your spiritual position in life. Like everyone knows, like we get it. There's times when we're not at our best. And have you ever had those scenarios where you came from a certain place and you felt bad about it later because you could have done better, but at that moment, that was the best you could do? Sometimes it involves apologizing, going back to the person and saying, okay, look, I know I said those things. That wasn't my finest moment. You have to apologize. So we do understand what it means to reach higher and to go for the highest in us that we can go, even though there technically isn't any such thing as one person's higher than another person, one person's better than another person, right? When you're caught up in comparisons and kind of in the wrong kind of spiral, when this is your life. I'm going to read you a story. And I kind of love this for like 15 different reasons, but you'll tell me what you think about this story. Okay. There was once a stonecutter who was dissatisfied with himself and with his position in life. One day he passed a wealthy merchant's house, and through the open gateway, he saw many fine possessions and important visitors. How powerful that merchant must be, thought the stonecutter. He became very envious and wished that he could be like the merchant. Then he would no longer have to live the life of a stonecutter. To his great surprise, he suddenly became the merchant, enjoying more luxuries and power than he had ever dreamed of, envied and detested by those less wealthy than himself. But soon a high official passed by, carried in a sedan chair, accompanied by attendants and escorted by soldiers and beating gongs. Everyone, no matter how wealthy, had to bow low before the official. And how powerful that official is, he thought. I wish I could be a high official. Then he became the high official, carried everywhere in his embroidered sedan chair, feared and hated by people all around who had to bow down before him as he passed. It was a hot summer day, and the official felt very uncomfortable in the sticky sedan chair. He looked up at the sun. It shone proudly in the sky, unaffected by his presence. how powerful the sun is. He thought, I wish I could be the sun. Then he became the sun, shining fiercely down on everyone, scorching the fields, cursed by the farmers and the laborers. But a huge black cloud moved between him and the earth so that his light could no longer shine on everything below. How powerful that storm cloud is, he thought. I wish I could be a cloud. Then he became the cloud, flooding the fields and villages, shouted at by everyone. But soon he found that he was being pushed away by some great force, and he realized that it was the wind. How powerful it is, he thought. I wish that I could be the wind. And then he became the wind, blowing tiles off of the roofs of houses, uprooting trees, hated and feared by all below him. But after a while, he ran up against something that would not move. No matter how forcefully he blew against it, a huge, towering stone. How powerful that stone is, he thought. I wish I could be a stone. And then he became the stone, more powerful than anything else on earth. But as he stood there, he heard the sound of a hammer pounding a chisel into the solid rock and felt himself being changed. What could be more powerful than I, said the stone. He thought, and he looked down and he saw far below him the figure of, you guessed it, a stonecutter. You see? Now to me, I feel like that has about 14 different layers to it, because how many times is it that we think that going higher means achieving something else out there that someone else has, right? Because we somehow think so little of our position and think so much of that position that we'd rather have that. And this stonecutter, my goodness, imagine if he had Instagram right now. Right? Am I right? Because Instagram or Facebook, whatever you're on, when you're scrolling and everyone's life looks so much better than yours, can you imagine all the envy and all of the wanting and the not wanting of what we do have, and the projection of how life will be once we get that? I mean, yeah, that is how advertising works, but just no, that's not the answer. So what is the answer? What does it mean by I want to reach higher? How can I go higher? Well, I think we all understand it doesn't mean getting a lot of stuff and changing places with everybody else, because it's just a vicious cycle, as we saw with the stonecutter. What must it mean then? Well, we know that spiritually and energetically, there is something higher. And when I first started this talk, I mentioned, when you're not at your best, when you feel bad about something you did, especially if you pointed it outwards and feel like you have to go apologize later. That feeling is not good. It's not good when you're in it. It's not good afterwards. So the best thing we can do is, when we're having moments of feeling low, that we sit within and we sit with that feeling and heal that before we go out and spew it onto others, because it is a cascading effect, and what we put out tends to come back 100-fold. So what we put out, if we're so careful, we need to be so careful about the energy that we put out. And that's where higher versus lower comes from, right? There's a book that I spoke with you guys about. I tend to bring it up a lot in these talks, Power versus Force. You remember that, by David R. Hawkins? And what he says is that the highest energy, vibrationally, apparently someone took and calibrated all the feelings of the human emotion, the range of emotion. And when you're coming at life from a sense of love, that is the highest energetic vibration you can come from, and it heals like 200 times the lowest energy. So if you were to come into a room and exude love, that itself would negate myriad lower energies, because it's like turning the light switch on, that just the darkness is like, okay, I got nothing, right? It's higher. So the idea is that you can look at this list where fear is the opposite of love. And just know that when I am coming from a lower vibration, I'm affecting others in that way. And when I can come from a higher vibration, I am a positive effect on others. And the whole book talks about how you can measure these things. And I'm not going to go into all those details, but the cool part is, yes, there's a higher. You can reach higher, but it's only by going within, by going down, kind of like a tree. You know how a tree, in order to grow taller, the roots are also going further down. And so it's that bi-directional growth. And that's what we're talking about. When we can sit within and go to that center that we visited earlier in the meditation, and just know that we're one and that we are supported in a universe that loves us, and start to vibrate with that and get in alignment with that energy. And then we come into a room, we can be the beneficial presence that changes things. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping for all of us here, that we all can be that beneficial presence. And so for me personally, I was on the phone with one of my customers, and I know you guys know that I got like 12 jobs. And one of them is just this work I do. It's software development, but it's for a nonprofit. And I'm not doing it for the money, because hence the name, nonprofit. Turns out nobody profits, but that's fine. You know, you give your time, your talent, your treasure. And so I'm supporting this group. And one of the ladies, she's usually really nice, and sometimes she can be a little prickly, but this conversation I most recently had with her, I could tell when we first started talking on the phone, she sounded like she had kind of, maybe she had been crying or she just woke up. You know how that sound, you can just sense it in someone's voice. And I was listening, and she was asking me questions, and I had some news that was good, some news that was bad. And so she started to kind of spiral. And moms in the room, you know how you scold someone because they didn't do the thing right? And you know how you could stop because they heard you, but then you keep going just to dig it in? You moms, I don't know. I know I used to do this. I'd say to my son, I'll give you an example. And this is all I'm making stuff up, but the thrust is there. Let's say he left the milk out, and I go, why'd you leave the milk out? You should put the milk away. And he says, oh yeah, sorry, puts the milk away. And then what if I then went on, you know, you keep doing that. And I don't know, like, seems to me that you have a problem remembering stuff because, you know, you just don't follow through. And, you know, you've always been this way. I don't know what, see, that's the part that we don't need to say. And years ago, my son told me, he must have been 13. He was like, look, I got it. And I kind of wanted to just go. And when he said, I got it, you do not need to repeat yourself, something turned on in my head. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he's a grown man. Like he's an individual who gets it. I don't need to drill it into him. And it's kind of condescending when I do. So I stopped doing that years ago. But as I'm on the phone with this woman, I'm listening to her. And I told her the bad news and she understood it. It was like the milk. She could have just let it go. But then she kept going and she kept going. And she started referring back to previous conversations and then telling me that the way I run my business might not be. And I'm like, okay, triggered. Then she said some stuff that just wasn't true. And then I kept listening. And then I was like, wow, so something happened because she's coming at me with stuff that's not even mine. And she's pulling up old stuff. And I was triggered at first. And then I started listening and I thought, oh, maybe she's hurting. And this isn't about me at all. And so I waited. And then I asked her, would you like me to give you some feedback? Because she's so happy to give me all the feedback about all the things I've ever done. And she was like, she went in a little further, more. And I was like, okay. And I asked her again, so would that be a no? You don't want to hear my feedback on how I experience you? And she goes, not today, not right now. I'm having a hard time. And I said, I know, it sounds like you are. And you could just hear her deflate. I said, yeah, it sounds like you are. And I you know, that's unfortunate. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold for you that you're going to feel peace and you're going to feel no stress and that things are going to be fine. And, you know, I know what I have to do. So I'm going to go ahead and hang up and do it. And then I said goodbye and I hung up. And then that night I went about like, maybe she's right. Cause she really kind of read me for filth, seriously. And I'm like, maybe she's right. But then I stayed in loving kindness. And this is why I had you guys go with loving kindness with me today, because I feel like if each of us can try this in the midst of any sort of confrontation, and then after, when you bring that whole thing with you, and you're closing your eyes and going to sleep, but you're going through, maybe she's right, maybe, send people loving kindness. So what I did in my brain, I said, sending her love. And then my self-berating stopped. It didn't stop right away. I had to send her love again. And then it became less about whether she was right and whether I was wrong. You hear that duality there? And it came more about, we support our brothers and sisters when they're in their time of need. I still don't know what must have happened. You never know, but I don't need to know. All I know is she was hurting. So she pointed stuff at me because hurt people hurt people. And then I was triggered and could have gone right back at her. But I did actually, I told her, well, actually, I'm in a good place right now. So I'm going to hold you. And that's what I want us to do. I want us to hold each other when we don't seem to be in a good place. It might be hard for the guy that cuts you off. Maybe start with people you know and hold them in that place where you feel loving kindness for them. May they feel love. May they feel de-stressed. And for me, I ended up not being so opposed and more aligned, not only with her, but just with my true self. There's nothing to get me further away from who I really am than to put a supposed opposition, put the other in front of me. And now, and because I'm competitive and I have to win, I'm like, okay, let's go. And I realized, okay, no, not right now. Move. There's a couple of quotes I'd like to share with you about this. And let's just look at the quotes and then I'll come back here. Yeah. So this first one, to make sure all is well. And yeah. So now, Ernest Holmes, we experience good and evil because we perceive a presence of duality instead of unity. This part I like because when we are coming from the stonecutter, I'm just going to say it, from the stonecutter experience, that stonecutter perceived that everything was outside of himself and he just needed to leave where he is to go get over there. That is a sense of duality, because you're always reaching for something you don't have. Anytime someone tells you there's good and then there's evil, it depends on the point of view, right? That's always from a sense of duality. This next quote, if we speak from the point of view of the spirit, there can be no opposition to him, or I'd like to say it, the spirit. It's only when we completely abandon the human will and recognize the pure essence of spiritual principle embodied in us that our thinking rises above the belief in duality. So the pure essence of spiritual principle, that spiritual principle is obviously that we are one. We are all one. We're not separate from one another. We might be different from one another, but we're just all part of the same stuff. And then the belief in the power of good and evil, that is what has contributed to the destruction of humanity. And by itself, the understanding of oneness will heal humanity. So I'll stop there. And now imagine the destruction of humanity coming from the belief that there's good and evil, the belief that a lot of the religious wars, just pick a religious war, right? Destruction of humanity. But if we saw that we were all one, if I am my brother, I am my sister, I am that, and that I am, well, now what I'm doing to myself. So it's a little different that way. And I think in the political climate that we're in, especially we've got the Handmaid's Tale happening in Texas. And then we've got the end of the world happening in New York, right? What do they call it? The day after tomorrow. Like, unfortunately, we have a lot of things to look at and we can be like, oh my gosh, they. And it's easier to kind of have the consternation about it because it's coming from out there. It's those people. But that will, coming from that point of view, will simply continue the divide. If we start to look at it as ourselves, this is in me too. I am what I'm looking at. That is me. Well, now it brings it a little closer to home. So what is ours to do in situations of political unrest and you're looking out and you're seeing the world? Well, I just hope that you're not looking at it like a stonecutter. Because if you're looking at the world like a stonecutter, where you're looking at, oh, that thing over there is bad, as opposed to the stonecutter, it thought it was good. I want to be that. Oh, that's bad. I want to erase that. Either way, we're coming from that duality. But what would happen if humanity, even if just 20% of us did this, just elevated our energy to a sense of love, loving everything just as it is. And only from there, that present moment of present love, could we create something new? Now, at the end of this, I need to talk to you about creation. What is creation? I'll tell you what it's not. It is not reenacting previous decisions. Reenacting previous decisions. I'm going to turn that on. Yeah. So reenacting previous decisions. If I sit down into meditation and I want to create something new, what I need to do is understand that there's only one, and I want to connect with that one, and then look for an aha moment, something not logically next, something that comes out of nowhere that I could not possibly have just like designed by adding 1 + 1 = 2. That is creation, when I'm creating from the divine, sitting and like letting the divine pour over me and coming up with aha moments. What it's not is reacting to what is and just recreating the same old stuff. Creation is not rerunning a program and rerunning a program and rerunning a program. How do you know if you're creating versus rerunning a program? Well, let's look at your mornings when you wake up. Just take some notes. When you wake up, do you jump out of bed and just start? Do you start with the scrolling on the Instagram? Do you start with the Twitter? You might be reenacting and recreating what already is. But if you wake up and sit and listen and ask, get your intention from the divine, what is mine to do today? And whatever you call it, Father, Mother, God, Buddha, whoever it is for you that embodies the highest ideal of you, ask, what is mine to do today? And then from a sense of love, arise from that seated position and go do that thing. And now you might be creating. So that's all you have to do. It's simple. It's just 2 steps. Just watch what you do every morning. You'll know if you're creating. If you wake up and you just start your day like an autopilot, you're probably reenacting existing programs. But if you start your day in the moment, present moment, connecting with the divine, whatever that looks like, and then start your day with love, you might be creating. And of course, we're going to check back in with each other. We've got classes coming up this September. We're going to be excited to tell you about that. But we keep coming back. We're going to hone this thing. We're all going to reach higher together as a community. And we're going to raise the energy around us. And it will change the world. That's why we're here. All right, so go within with me. I am fresh out of time, but I can't wait to tell you more stuff in future talks. I'm just so grateful that you're here with me this morning. So let's just close our eyes and anchor this with prayer. I know that there's only one power, one divine life moving through and as all creation. It has never left its creation. God, the universe, eternal life, created all that is, and it is in and as and through us. As our hands, as our eyes, as our actions, it is here as us. And since we are one with the divine and there can be no separation, all of the goodness that is God is also available to us. That peace, that love, that joy, all of the highest good that there is for humanity is available to us right in this moment, in the present moment, whereas the only time that creation ever happens in the present moment. And so in this moment, I speak my word. Every person who is experiencing a sense of lack, that God is right where they are, that there is the infinite presence being itself in that situation. Even if we can't see it, even if it only feels like it's bad, we know there's no such thing as independent evil. It is all part of the divine. Everything is unfolding for our highest good. All we need to do is sit and allow and listen. And so I know that right here and right now, any place that anyone is feeling a sense of dis-ease in any of their cells, any organ of their being, that right here, right now is wholeness. And they are beginning to express the wholeness of the divine pattern right in their body temple right now. In the situation, be it political in the state of Texas or climate in the state of New York and all around the world, I speak my word that God is right in the midst of that. Is right there. God is more than that situation. And it too is changing. It too is rising through and as that very situation. Those beings, I just know right here and right now that they're becoming aware of their oneness with the divine, which changes everything. This awareness of oneness, I'm just so grateful that it is becoming the conscious awareness of us. And that is not just this small group here. It is happening all over this planet. We are becoming awake. We are becoming aware of our true divinity. And it is time for us all to awaken. So I give thanks that this is happening. I give thanks to be the person to speak my word about this right here and right now, because I know that as I speak my word, it is happening. This word is going into the law, and the law says yes, and it always returns that from which it has been spoken. And so I simply allow my word to fly on the wings of angels into the divine. And I anticipate with eager joy as I watch it unfold. So there's nothing left to do except just simply release it and let it go and let it be. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. All right, Leah, sing us out.
This is another song that's perfect to sing together. It's by David Roth. I am here for the greater good of all, greater good of all, greater good of all. I am here for the greater good of all, greater good of all. You are here for the greater good of all, greater good of all, greater good of all. You are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all. We are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. We are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all. greater good of all.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Charlene and Leah. You know, I just have to say, no matter what you experience this week, no matter what you have planned ahead, we come together on a Sunday and we just recharge our batteries. And that's how I feel today, that my battery has been recharged. Now is the time that we bless the donations that are shared today. At CSL Leesburg, we believe in the law of circulation. So we are a tithing community. The donations that are shared with our center bless everyone, those who give and those who receive. Please look at the screen. There's so many ways to give. It's easy to find a way that works best for you. You can also go onto our website at any time, cslleesburg.org, and click on the donate button. Thank you so much for your support. Now, join me as we say our affirmation of oneness. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness to the lives of everyone who I contact. Therefore, I'm a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. Now we have a few announcements. If you enjoyed what you heard here today, please consider joining us later in the week. On Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m., you can join Charlene once again for the Dreams Study, where people come together and they talk about their dreams, and we help you gain insight and interpret, because our dreams are sending us messages on how we should live our life and what lies ahead. And on Wednesday night, we have our prayer and visioning session. So if you have any joys and celebrations midweek, or you just want to come and hang out with us, join us on Wednesday nights. Also, please consider joining us after our service, especially if you're new. We'd love to officially welcome you. And we will stay and share our pearls, those little nuggets of wisdom that we gained from today's service that will just kind of resonate with us. And now, as we end our sacred time together, let us place our hands over our hearts and join me in this statement. I am love. Just let that sink in. Now think about somebody, or look at somebody, or make contact with somebody on the screen. Point at them and say, you are love. And then put your hands up in the air, something that we call love sprinkles, and just say, it's all love. Thank you so much for joining us this Sunday morning. If you can, stay and hang out with us. And if you can't, we wish you a blessed day. Thank you so much.